New videos every day.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Part 1 video on the 4th chapter of Stress Inc. I'm Peter McCarthy, a certified traditional naturopath, and today I'll introduce you to a new way of understanding our endocrine or glandular system. The glands in this system are truly the body's energy managers, the arbiters of how our body's finite energy resources are used. Now, if you're employed by one of the many entities and organizations that comprise corporate America, you're undoubtedly familiar with the typical wiring diagram organizational chart that usually depicts the corporate hierarchical structure. Our body's endocrine or glandular system operates in many of the same ways. It has a front office of sorts, the hypothalamus and pituitary, which direct the functions of the other glands in the system, telling them when to turn on and off. The department heads, the other glands, are each assigned tasks, the operation of one or more of the body's systems, and given resources, the body's energy stores, to accomplish those tasks. Another feature of this system is that just like a corporation, the allocation of those resources shifts when a crisis presents itself. Now, how many times have you seen a corporate department receive the lion's share of available resources on an emergency basis simply because their assigned task is the most time or mission critical? Well, the endocrine system operates just like that. So, as we discuss our body's endocrine system, we will continue to use this analogy between its operation and that of a typical corporate structure. When someone refers to the endocrine system, what exactly are they talking about? Well, Mosley's Medical Encyclopedia describes it as follows. Endocrine system, the network of glands that do not have ducts and other structures that secrete hormones into the bloodstream. They affect the function of specific target organs. Glands of the endocrine system include the thyroid and the parathyroid, the pituitary, the pancreas, the adrenal glands, and the gonads. Secretions from the endocrine glands affect a number of functions in the body, such as metabolism and growth. Endocrine glands also affect secretions of each other and of organs. Now, there are a number of important concepts that need to be addressed here, and I'll continue to use the corporate analogy to do that. As I'm sure you're well aware, every company's goal can be distilled down to its mission statement. In each case, the further distillation of the mission statement usually translates to inflow exceeds outflow. In other words, the resources the company receives, in other words, its profits, exceeds the resources the company expends, the money it spends to acquire the resources to produce products or services that it sells. Now, if the company encounters difficulty in the business world, it can usually operate for a short period of time in an emergency response mode, typically in a condition where it is operating at a loss. And the company's ability to do so will be completely dependent upon its operating reserves. However, if it's not able to exit this emergency response mode within a short period of time, it usually declares bankruptcy and ultimately can go out of business. So it must use its finite input resources efficiently in order to accomplish its mission. The body's endocrine system operates in much the same way. The body receives a finite amount of resources, the food it uses to create energy, to operate its systems. Usually, this operation takes place in an environment of equilibrium, and that's what the medical community calls homeostasis. The endocrine system is what the body uses to manage the expenditure of this energy source. Now, the body also does have an emergency response system, which is also known as the stress response, to allow it to operate for brief periods in a sort of overdrive. If the response operates for only short, infrequent periods, the body is able to return to equilibrium quickly and continue to operate healthfully. However, if the body continually uses this overdrive function, it will quickly use up its energy reserves. Then, like a company whose financial reserves are exhausted, it slips into its own form of bankruptcy, what the medical community calls disease. If the conditions causing the bankruptcy are not efficiently addressed, Well, we all know what happens when one of us goes out of business, don't we? But how does this system actually work, and how does it help us deal with chronic stress? To understand the first question, let's use a corporate analogy that we're all familiar with, the Computer Local Area Network, or LAN. If we work in virtually any corporate office setting, we typically each have a desktop computer or terminal of our own hooked up to a sometimes complex network of wiring, or a wireless network in more sophisticated settings, and a central server or servers that permits us to communicate directly with other computers and peripheral devices such as printers. Each computer or terminal may or may not be individually turned on or off by the operator. Well, the LAN that operates the endocrine system is indeed centrally controlled by its own servers, two organs called the hypothalamus and pituitary gland. But unlike the individual computers in a corporate LAN, none of the other glands have a switching system that is integral to each. Because they are ductless glands, they lack an on-off switch of their own. So they have to rely on the front office of the hypothalamus and pituitary to tell them when to operate. Second, and unlike many LANs, each gland cannot communicate directly with every organ in the body. They operate like a LAN system that has specific software for each terminal, allowing only certain terminals to communicate with certain other terminals, and only at specific times and under specific conditions. But very much like the operation of a computer LAN, the endocrine system requires expenditure of the body's finite energy resources to operate properly. As long as an office LAN has electrical power available, it can operate effectively. But introduce a power failure, and all activity stops. Likewise, the endocrine system both manages the body's energy bank and expends some of that energy in the process. It operates like an integrated LAN, controlling the level of energy expenditure of each device or gland hooked to the LAN so that each activity can occur at the appropriate time. In doing so, it demonstrates the third concept mentioned by Moseley, that is, endocrine glands also affect secretions of each other and of organs. In other words, like an advanced LAN, the connection among all the glands in the system demonstrates that one has an effect on all. There are a great many specific, complex biochemical interactions among the glands that allow them to interact usefully and healthfully with each other. Now, I promise you, we have no need to delve into these complexities. If you want to learn more about the details of the operation of the endocrine system and why each part acts very much like part of a business, I invite you to read my book when it is published. The most important thing to note is that as a system, each part acts in concert to manage the body's expenditure of available energy. Well, that's all we have time for right now. In part 2 of Chapter 4, we'll answer the important question, how does the endocrine system help us deal with chronic stress? Until then, please sign up for Psyche Truth, and we'll see you next time.
If you liked this video, we have hundreds of more alternative videos ranging from sexual health to psychology to mind control. So if you liked it, go ahead and click on me to enter the Psyche Truth channel.